In this video, we are looking at undefined of algebraic fractions. Now, looking at the definition over here, algebraic fractions of the form a over b are said to be undefined if the divisor or the denominator is equal to 0. That is when the denominator b is equal to 0. So when we talk of algebraic fractions or algebraic fractions which are not defined, it means they do not exist or they cannot be determined, that is indeterminate. And at what point in time will expression be undefined? The only expression that can be undefined should always be in a fraction form. Now, when expression is not in fraction form, it is always defined. So for an expression to be undefined, it should always be in a fraction form. So we could see the fraction a over b. So for the fraction a over b to be undefined, b should be equal to 0. So when the denominator is equal to 0, it means the expression is not defined or does not exist, or it cannot be determined, that is indeterminate. So how do we then find the value of a variable that will make or will render the expression in a fraction form to be undefined? Now, to find the value of a variable present in a given algebraic expressions or algebraic fraction that makes the fraction undefined, what we need to do is to equate the divisor or the denominator to 0, and then we solve for the value of the variable present in a given expression, and that the value that we get is the value that will render the algebraic fraction undefined. So let's look at the problem in our next slide. Now over here we have a problem here that says that we want to determine the value of x for which the expression or the algebraic fraction 2x plus 1 over 2x minus 6 is undefined. So as we said earlier on, for algebraic fraction to be undefined, it should always be, or for algebraic expression to be undefined, it should always be in a fraction form. Good. Now to determine the value that will render it undefined, we need to equate the denominator or the divisor to 0, and then we solve for the value of the variable present. So let's go back. So we could see the divisor or the denominator in this expression is 2x minus 6. So we are going to equate this to 0, and then we solve for the value of x. So let's rewrite the whole expression. What is 2x plus 1? So let's write the whole expression. 2x plus 1 all over 2x minus 6. Good. Now we want to find the value of x that will render the whole expression to undefined. Then we need to equate the denominator or the divisor, which is 2x minus 6, to 0. So 2x minus 6 equated to 0. And then now we want to move this negative 6 to the right side of the equal sign, and that will become 2x is equal to 6. Now to find the value of x, we need to divide through by the coefficients of x, which is 2. 2x is equal to 6 divided by 2 here, divided by 2 here. So you could say that this 2 cancel out this 2, and x will be equal to 6 over 2. And when you divide 6 by 2, the result is 3. Alright, so when x is equal to 3, the whole expression here becomes undefined. In other words, the denominator will be equal to 0. Now let's substitute and see what the denominator will become. So we have 2 here, and x is 2 or 3. X is 3 plus 1 then denominator you have 2x, but our x is 3 minus 6. So 2 times 3 will give us 6 plus 1 all over 2 times 3 is 6 minus 6. 6 plus 1 is 7 all over 6 minus 6 is 0. So the moment the denominator becomes 0, it means the whole thing becomes undefined. Becomes undefined. Alright. Now we move on to the next problem to solve more examples. Now what we have here says determine or find the value of x for which the expression 1 plus x over x squared minus 5x plus 6 is undefined. Now we could see that the denominator is in quadratic expression form. So before we can determine the value of x that will render this expression undefined, we need to solve this algebraic or quadratic expression here. And from our previous lesson, we have already learned how to solve quadratic equation. So our quadratic expression. So we have here the denominator x squared minus 5x plus 6. We render it to 0 or we equate it to 0. Then we find two numbers. When we multiply, we get the product of coefficients of x squared and the constant. So the coefficients of x squared is 1 and the constant term is 6. So 1 times 6 is 6. So we find two numbers. When you multiply, you get 6, but when you add, we give you negative 5. So the two numbers are negative 2 and negative 3. So we use the negative 2, negative 3 to split this, the second term here. So we get x squared minus 2x minus 3x plus 6 equals 0. So we group them like this. Okay, so in the first bracket, x squared minus 2x, we need to factor the common term out, and the common term here is x. So x is factored out. What is left is x minus 2 minus 3 and 6. The common term or the highest common factor is 3. So 3 is brought out. What is left here is x. Now what number multiplies 3 to give you 6? That is 2. So this is what we have here. Then you could see we have a common factor. What is x minus 2? So we group or we put x minus 3 in one bracket and then x minus 2 also in another bracket equal to 0. Now we have two factors, x minus 3 and x minus 2. We single them out, or we pick each of them and equate it to 0 and solve for x. So we have x minus 3 equal to 0 means x is equal to 3. And then x minus 2 equal to 0. X minus 2 equal to 0 means x is equal to 2. Therefore, the values of x that will render the expression undefined is 2 and 3. And any of these two numbers that you substitute into the given expression will render the denominator to be 0. So the two numbers that will render the expression to be undefined is 2 and 3. Now let's move on to the next question. It says, for what value of m is m plus 2 over m squared minus 9 undefined? So for an algebraic expression or for algebraic fraction to be undefined, the denominator should be set to 0 or should be equate to 0 and solve for the value of the variable present. So the denominator is m squared minus 9, we equate it to 0. Then we have m squared being equal to 9. So the value that's, or the variable we want to find its value carries an exponent of 2. So we need to take square root on both sides of the equal sign, and that becomes so we need to take square root on both sides to get rid of the exponent of 2 on m. So that becomes m. Okay, so this square will cancel the square root sign, making m is equal to, and square root of 9 is 3. So the value of m that will render the expression undefined is 3.